Now let us see one RESTful service example, which includes the database, right? We are going to use H2 database. So if you look at form.xml file here, form.xml file, so what are the dependencies? If you are using hypersonic database, just add hypersonic dependency, H2. Similarly, you are using MySQL Oracle, then you can add the dependencies. That is a driver actually, this is like driver. Similarly, to connect to JDBC, we require Spring Boot Starter data JDBC. This is another dependencies. So in addition to the Spring Boot Starter web, okay, Spring Boot Starter web, Spring Boot Starter actuator, other things, for database point of view, we require the driver is one. Second one is we require one Spring Boot Starter data JDBC, right? These things you can automatically created while creating the project. See, when you say file new, Spring Starter project, here we can add the dependency, Spring Boot, Spring Data JDBC. Similarly, there is a H2 database. All those dependencies we can add here, right? Then there is one application.property file. If you observe application.property file, here there are some properties related to data source, right? Say for example, data source driver, H2 driver. Similarly, the URL for H2. Similarly, username, password. We can mention all these things. If you are using MySQL, then you can provide MySQL properties, right? This is what is required. Then in the example, we have a controller, city controller. City controller internally using city service. So if I show you the city service is using city DAO. So if you come to city DAO, and in this class, we are using JDBC template. To talk to the application to interact with the database, we would require JDBC template. So what is the advantage of JDBC template? Instead, we are programmatically creating the data source connection, prepared statement, everything. JDBC template will simplify it. But this JDBC template internally uses data source. So if I open this class JDBC template, okay, you can see it is internally using data source also, right? For this data source, these properties are injected by the Spring framework. All those properties will go to data source. The data source is passed to JDBC template, right? So once we have JDBC template means it has database connectivity also, okay? And here, using JDBC template, we can perform different operations. Suppose we want to retrieve all the cities, you can say JDBC template.query. This SQL statement, we can give the SQL statement, right? So that this will get executed. But what is the return value of this? Any SQL query return value is result set, right? That result set we are capturing into this. Normally the result set, we will take it, iterate it and create some objects, right? Model objects. Because this method is returning list of cities, right? So this query, what it is happening, JDBC template, the SQL query will get executed. The result set will become input to bin property row mapper. This will create list of city object and that list of city objects will be returned back to the application, right? That is how the row mapper will work, right? Similarly, if you want to retrieve by ID, then we'll say select star from cities where ID equals some question mark, we can pass it. Similarly, this is going to return one city object. Same way to insert a city, we have to use insert query. To delete a city, we have to use delete query. To update a city, we have to use update query, right? This is how it works. Now, the city DAO is injected into city service. City service is injected into city controller, right? So city controller is where we are exposing REST API, REST endpoints. You can see here @REST controller. Similarly, request mapping /city. Okay, that means from the postman, when we request /city with get mapping, automatically this will get executed. Service will be executed. Service will call DAO. DAO will return some data. It comes to service. Service will return that data back to postman, right? That is how it works completely. Similarly, for post mapping also, post mapping, we can insert a city. While inserting the city, we are passing city object, city details, right? Post mapping, what happens in the body, we are going to send JSON or XML, that city details, that will be injected here into city object. So we need to give request body. Similarly, for put mapping also, we have to give request body, right? These things we have to mention. Okay, so to start this application, just you can go to Spring Boot application, run as Spring Boot app, right? Once the application is started, you can see it runs in port number 80 80, fine. But we are using hypersonic database, right? S2 database. In the application at property, what is mentioned? S2 console enabled equal true. Whenever you're using MySQL, Oracle, any database, what happens is we'll have a nice console, right? Similarly, if you want to have a console for S2, so it is here we have to enable S2 console true. But how do you get that path, console path? How do you get it? In the log itself, we can see ST console is available under /S2 console. So in the browser, just open a browser, open a tab, type localhost 8080/S2 console. We have to give this. When you say enter, here it is asking JDB's URL, the database. This information also we'll get here. See, here we are getting S2 console. Database is available under this, right? So you have to copy this and paste this here. Actually, both are same, right? There and here, these entries are same. Otherwise, we need to modify this. Then username is SA, password is empty. All these details are given here. See, this is the URL, this is the username, password is empty, right? Then once you connect it, once it is connected, we need to create some script. Where is the script available here? In the schema.h2, in the same project, you can see schema h2 SQL. Okay, let me open this. So this is the script. Create table, table name cities. Then there are some columns. Okay, I'll take this script, then run here. Just paste here and say run. Okay, so that entire script. So let me take the entire script, copy and paste here and say run. So this will create one table cities. Then let us insert some data. For that, there is one more script here, right? There is one more script. Data is to SQL, right click, then open with, and say open with text editor, copy this, then paste here, right? Just paste this and run. Now the data is also inserted. So if you want to check it, just when you click cities, it'll give you select start from cities. When you say run, you can see all the entries, right? So now the database is available. Okay. Now, if you want to test this application, in the controller, you can see first get mapping. So /city with get, we'll call city service.find all, which internally call DAO.get all these cities. That internally calls select star from the database, right? So let us try this. I'll go to Postman. In the Postman, let me just close all these tabs, not required. Okay, so clear all. In the Postman, let me give one entry, localhost 8080/city with get. Now you can observe, see, all the cities are coming here. When you say get, we are getting all the cities. That means which one is getting executed? This particular method got executed. Similarly, if you want to get a particular city, then in the Postman, we'll add one more, maybe I'll take one more endpoint here, give /1, send. It will only display that particular city. Based on the ID, we can return it. So without giving that ID, if you say /city, all the cities will come. And this data is coming from where? It is coming from the database. From here, we are getting it. Okay. Then similarly, if you want to create a new city, insert a new city, we should do post mapping, right? How to do that? In the Postman, go to a tab, say post, right? So let us say localhost 8080/city. In the body, raw, we have to mention the body here. So what I'll do, I'll take syntax from here. Maybe one of the city I'll take here. Okay, let me take this syntax. Put here post. ID, I'll remove it. Some city name, right? So city name, maybe I'll give, suppose Vijayawada, some city. Okay, let me give some population. Okay, some population I've given. And it is a JSON, mention JSON. So localhost 8080/city with post. When you try with post and say send here, automatically we got success, 200 OK. So this got created. If you want to check it, go to city /city and say send. Now here we got new city, see, ID 6, name equal to Vijayawada, right? And the same thing can be tried from the S2 console also. S2 console, when you say run this, here also we are getting that city 6, Vijayawada is coming here, right? So this is how we can perform post operation. Suppose if you want to update this, whatever city we have inserted here, Suppose city 6, right? The new city is got inserted under ID 6. If I want to update this, then we can go for one more request put. Let us go for put. Say localhost city/6. Right. Because in the code, what is mentioned for put mapping, what is mentioned put mapping, it is /city/city ID. Right. Then in the body, we have to pass city object. So in the body, let me go to body, raw. Okay, I will copy from here this city. I'll just copy this city here. Okay, update the population. Maybe I'm just changing some value here. So when I say put here, say send. Okay, the media type, you have to give media type as JSON because it's a JSON. Say send. Now it is 200 OK. And if you want to see this updated value, once again, let me hit city/6 and send. We'll get that updated value, right? That means put is also working. And even if you go back to the database and say run, in the database also, you can observe here, the modified values come here. Similarly, if you want to delete the record, delete any resource, there is a delete mapping, right? Delete mapping also, we have to pass ID. So let me try one more tab with the delete. Just say delete, give localhost, city6, send. It says 200 OK. If I come back to city and say send, we are getting only city up to 5. 6 is not coming here. Even if I try with city 6 send, it says no city is found. So this is how we can perform crowd operations. We can expose REST API using crowd operation. And backend, it is dealing with the hypersonic database. Instead of hypersonic database, you want to use MySQL or Oracle, anything. Then in the pom.xml, we need to add those dependencies. Pom.xml, if you want to use Oracle dependency. And in property files, okay, so change to MySQL or Oracle properties, right? That is why we can run this example, okay? Great, all of you have a nice learning.